Hi, good evening, and welcome to this episode of Odyssey with Mazi Chooks. Today I have somebody that is very dear to me. He's a friend and a brother. But then I'll allow him to introduce himself. But before he does that, I'll just briefly run through what Odyssey with Mazi Chooks is all about. Yeah, so Odyssey with Mazi Chooks is simply a podcast that explains the journey of migrants moving from their home country to abroad. When I mean abroad, I don't mean, I mean abroad, people moving legally to any part of the world. So in this podcast, we tend to share stories of people that have left so that people that are still planning to move could also benefit from it. And people that have also left could also benefit because sometimes you're sitting in one corner in Sweden or in Germany or in Denmark or in Canada, and you're thinking that the challenges you're facing is just peculiar to you, right? Not knowing that the people in Canada or the people in the UK or somebody that also moves to America is likely facing the same challenge. So the whole essence of Odyssey Magic is to get people that have this lived experience share their experiences, and we all learn from it. Yeah. So, my brother, can you please introduce yourself? Yeah, if that's okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mazi. My name is Sholakumi Babarinde. Sorry, my phone was ringing. Okay, my name is Sholakumi Babarinde. I don't know if Mazi mentioned my name earlier. I currently reside in Canada, Regina precisely. It's a city in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is one of the provinces in Canada. I work as a property manager here in Canada. Interestingly, that was the same line I was in back in Nigeria. In Nigeria, well, I'm still a registered estate surveyor and valuer, so I'm a realtor, property manager, estate valuer, everything rolled into one, practically. Everything that has to do with property, investments, appraisals, advisory, property related. Basically, I think that's the good way to start, right?
Yeah. And talking about still being registered in Nigeria, I know before you left, if I'm still very correct, you were maybe, was it secretary to the Lagos State branch of Estate
Ye-
Valuers, or was it
Yes, I'm the sitting secretary. You can say secretary in diaspora anyway.
secretary in diaspora?
I'm the secretary of the Lagos State branch of Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, in the Lagos State branch currently. Anyway, so my tenure will be lapsing sometime in May. That's when we are due to hand over. So currently, that's
Yeah.
what I currently hope. Yes.
Okay, so you're operating from diaspora.
Yes, I'm operating from diaspora, although I also have an assistant. I have an assistant,
And
although
an able assistant.
yes, I have like a very, able assistant back, holding forth for me back in Nigeria. Coincidentally, while I was the assistant, sometime in my tenure as the assistant, ran through 2021 to 2023. Coincidentally, the substantial secretary then too, the honorary secretary, relocated during her tenure.
Wow.
So yeah, but she had done over a year in her tenure before she relocated. Coincidentally, she's also in Regina here. She's in the same city where I currently live in Canada.
Okay.
But I live in the east. She stays somewhere in the south. So it's just like 15-20 minutes drive from here. So I'll say I took the lead from her anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the very vivid introduction. I believe that anybody watching now will know that you're a core professional, and while also, well, as we go along the interview, we'll be able to get more details about yourself. Thank you.
Yes,
So
you're
my first
welcome.
question would be, can you share the story of what inspired you to leave your home country, in this instance, Nigeria, what inspired you? What made you decide that I think it is now time to just probably go and try another place? If that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so like you knew that, we lived in the same compound, for a couple of years. And before I came, to the house, I met you in the place. I just came back from the United Kingdom then, where I went to do my master's. That was 2014. I finished my master's sometime
Yeah.
in May or thereabouts of 2014 in the UK, in a school in Manchester. So, I've always been the type where I used to feel I didn't fit in the way Nigerians do things, the whole Nigerian system, the
Yeah.
chaotic and crazy nature of the country, gets me depressed, sort of. So I've always known that I wasn't really meant to be resident in Nigeria. I will be going here back, but because of I don't want to call it the craze. There's this nonchalancy and the whole craze in the Nigerian environment. It kind of depresses me mentally. So this type of person, I don't like functioning in chaotic environments. And
Environment. Yeah.
yeah, and I felt, well, I can do better than them. Well, God has created me in Nigeria. He has created me as a Nigerian. But
Unfortunately.
yeah, but everywhere I've been, even from my secondary school, through the university, I've always kind of stood out in the way I think. I don't usually reason like the average Nigerian. So, where the average Nigerian is thinking of cutting corners or breaking laws, I'm this kind of person. I like following laws. It's not that I'm not I don't know what the word is,
Not that you're
but
perfect.
yeah, it's not, I won't say perfect, but when the Bible says give what is Caesar unto Caesar, that is me. I wouldn't do things, where I know that okay, this thing has consequences, and I'm, consciously going to go against it. I don't do things like that. Let me give you a practical example. Like, you see the average Nigerian, maybe their car particulars has expired or their driver's license is about to expire, and they're still driving because they know, because we're in a very lawless society, I can give the policeman money, I can settle. I would rather not do that because I don't like to be under the mercy, of
Of
anybody.
anybody. Yeah.
When I know that I can do the right thing by either, must have sorted my documents out before it expires,
Mm.
or I be in the process where I can show them that okay, this is the documents, I'm already, processing this thing. So I don't like being at the mercy of anybody saying, please, sir, please, sir. So I like to do things properly. If they say, don't park here, this is a BRT lane, that is me. I will
Mm.
never park. I won't say, oh,
Yeah.
because I know somebody or I'm highly placed or my father is this.
Mm.
Not go through that place at all. That is me for you. So
Sorry,
this kind of
sorry to
thing.
cut you short. I think it's beginning to make sense because I remember while we lived in the same estate and the same house, yeah,
Mhm.
or in the same compound, I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
I remember while our landlord then we're having issue with NEPA and all of that and oil, you were the
Mhm.
first tenant, I think, that went and got your prepaid meter. And
Yeah.
I was like, why would this guy do a prepaid meter when I know it's quite cheaper to, of course, you know how NEPA behave and all of that. Is it NEPA or PAC? I don't even know their name
Yes,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, how they behave. But you went and got your prepaid meter and you didn't want all those chaotic environment of, oh, you never pay NEPA money, you never bring and all of. So I think it's beginning to make sense. And I kind of
Yeah.
agree that that is your
That,
person.
that is me. The one funny incident actually came to my mind. It was when I was in the university. Coincidentally, I schooled in the north. I finished from Footmina. So I was standing in front of our mini campus one day, and I was standing with a few friends, and one of them like took courage. I still remember the guy very, very well. If I mentioned his name, he would just laugh.
Mm.
He's one of our, guys from the east, but he's somebody that speaks Yoruba, speaks Hausa, very well-grounded Easterner, but he speaks all three languages. So the guy
Yeah.
took orange, sucked orange, and he threw it in the gutter. And I was like, guy, why did you throw that? He was like, na gutter now. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, okay. This thing is
Mm.
supposed to be for liquid waste, but you
Yeah.
took orange and you threw, solid waste into the liquid drainage. That tells
Mm.
you the kind of way my wife even jokes and calls me Loma prefect or Loma because I don't like anywhere being
Mm.
messy. When I'm going on the road, I know how many times in Nigeria that I've had to overtake, buses because somebody in the bus threw something out, because this all
Yeah.
these kind of crazy things that happen in Nigeria. So
Mm.
left me, I went back to Nigeria in 2014 with the high hopes
Mm.
that, Nigeria was going to get better. Everybody
Yeah.
just felt Nigeria was going to get better. So when I got back to Nigeria 2014, and I started noticing, I got married in 2015, and I noticed the way things were. It was obvious that things were going down the drain. It wasn't looking like anything was improving. I spoke to
Mm.
my wife sometime in 2017. Left to me, we would have relocated earlier than
Long time
20
ago.
long time ago. But my wife is the type that she's family oriented. She likes her, especially her immediate family. She's close, with her family, her grandma, her
Yeah.
mom, her siblings. So she was like, she likes to have that family support around. So it took the intervention of my mother-in-law, because my wife's mom lives in the US. It took my
Okay.
mother-in-law to intervene in 2022. I had to call something happened on the road. I was going back home from the office, and I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly what. I knew that it was one very crazy thing that happened on the road. And I was like, no, this is it for me. This is it. I can't take this
Mm.
anymore. So it was on my way home. I was on
Yeah.
Oniwaya Road that day around Dopemu. And I called my mother-in-law. She lives in the US. And I called her. I said, please talk to my wife for me. I can't take this anymore. Because she had been
Mm.
saying that, why are you people still there? Why are you people still there? So my own relocation, my own idea is not to fully just leave Nigeria, because
Mm.
I've always said that, people that enjoy living abroad most are the ones that shuttle, go,
Yeah.
come, go, come. They're the ones that really enjoy, being abroad, because being abroad without looking back, for me, I don't see it as the best thing anyway, because abroad can be
Mm.
depressing, like, So I like
Yeah.
that. Sometimes go and get a mix of the chaos in Nigeria. When you come back,
The
you
Lagos
appreciate,
madness.
yeah, especially we that we live in Lagos, So it's good sometimes go and experience. Although I always tell people jokingly, Nigeria is, especially if you've lived abroad before, it's not a place you want to live for a month or consistently. It's a place where you go and do vacation. You go spend few days or spend 3 weeks, go back to same environment. That's the way I
Mm.
look at it. Because growing up, because look at our politicians, really, many of them, well, virtually all of them, if you can hardly count 5% of them that either don't have dual nationality or
Yeah.
their kids don't have dual. It's almost impossible. So I always tell people, if you are a Nigerian and you are born in Nigeria and you die in Nigeria, you might not enter heaven. That's on the
So say
on the
that.
line.
Sorry. Say that again. If
That
you are
if
a
you are born in
Nigerian,
and you live in Nigeria and you die in Nigeria without going outside
yeah.
Nigeria, you might not enter heaven.
Okay. This is an interesting one now. So if you are a Nigerian, born
Mhm.
in Nigeria, live in Nigeria, and die in Nigeria without going anywhere, you're likely not going to enter heaven.
Yes,
Wow.
because
Wow.
God even said that we should subdue the earth, we should dominate.
Mm.
In part of dominating the earth is for you to go out and see other places. So
Yeah.
it's always strive to see. That's when you will know that you are really suffering. If you are in
Mm.
Nigeria, sometimes you don't see outside, you cannot really tell that you are suffering. You feel, oh, I'm okay. So because you are comfortable in your little space. So it's sometimes
Mm.
when you go outside, you will be challenged and say, oh, so this is like the Yorubas will say that ayekpe meji, like this world pass one place.
It
When you
passed
go
one
out,
place.
you see, other things, you begin to see.
Mm.
Sometimes I envy my children because my children are
Mm.
schooling in Canada here. They have classmates that are Canadians, that are Congolese, that are Belgians.
Yeah.
They have a mix of, like, I can imagine how they will grow up. They're
Mm-hmm.
growing up in a system where you have virtually every nationality of different continents in the same
Yeah.
class with. If I show you the picture of my daughter's class, oh God, it's United Nations. You will see
Wow.
Japanese, you will see indigenes of Canada, not the white people,
Mm.
the real
Mm.
indigenes of Canada, those Métis and those people, not the pure Caucasians. So you
Mm.
see the mix of everything. So imagine growing up in
Mm.
a system that when you have friends from different nationality, different races, man, I can
Mm.
imagine that is the limit for children like that. Unfortunately, my own dad had the opportunity. I've told you severally back when we were together in Nigeria that my dad schooled in the UK, for example. He did
Mm.
his, stay in the UK, University of Reading. But unfortunately, they didn't see beyond, then that Nigeria was going to be the way it is. My father got
Yeah.
federal government scholarship. Imagine,
Yeah.
early 80s, he got federal government scholarship to school in the UK. He was paid in
Mm.
cash. They gave him cash. Like, I remember he used to tell us that when he was traveling and they asked him at the airport that, oh, how do you intend to get your remittances? He just brought
Mm.
out bundle of cash and dropped it on the table.
Wow.
The person that he just stands it straight, say, "Oh, yeah, welcome to the United
Wow.
Kingdom." Because they didn't see that
Wow.
there was be a problem. But in Nigeria now, to
Yeah.
even get scholarship now by connection,
Mm.
so I just looked at it that it was the right decision to take, even if I will
Mm.
still be in Nigeria is sweet to trust me. It's easy to make money in Nigeria than
Big
abroad.
money.
Free money, unfortunately, you can make free money in Nigeria. In Canada and most of these Western worlds, your wealth you must, at least it has to take a process. They
Yeah.
will see verifiable process that your money is. But in Nigeria, you can sleep today and tomorrow you are a billionaire as long as you have
Yeah.
somebody power. So that was
Mm.
one of the things that made me. I just felt I couldn't function in this chaotic setting anymore. So I just decided to, for now at least, let me just be in the same environment a bit. With time, I will still be going home and you know.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective to hear that you decided to leave Nigeria not because of you wanted to for the economic reasons that most people live for or
I was
because
even,
of
I was even
insecurity.
fine. At least I had two cars in Nigeria. My wife had her own car. I had my own car. So it wasn't really much
Mm.
of economic reason. I left Nigeria practically for my sanity and for the future of my children because these people that
So,
keep telling you, oh, Nigeria will get better, and some of our religious leaders will tell you, pray for Nigeria, and none of their children are in Nigeria.
yeah,
You know, I can remember the church I was attending in Nigeria. One of the pastor of the church. I don't want to mention
yeah, please
the
don't mention names. Yes.
title. No, I don't even want to mention his name, but I don't want to mention the title so people don't trace
Now
it.
I mean the name of the church. Yes, please.
No, I won't even mention the name. I don't want
Yeah.
to mention the position he was. At least he was in
Okay.
that position for more than 6, 7 years that when he was transferred there. He was there as a pastor in that church, the most senior person in the church. We didn't see
Yeah.
any of the children once. Not once.
Wow.
We didn't see one of his children once. That tells you that because all his children are in US, everybody's abroad. And they will keep
Mm.
telling you, pray for Nigeria. If they trusted the prayer, why are the children not in Nigeria?
Abroad. Mm.
Yeah, why are they abroad? So I just looked at it, I said, no, no, these people, there's something they know that we don't know. That's the thing
Mm.
about a lot of Nigerians. We say, "Oh, nothing there abroad." Yeah, nothing there abroad now. Why are the
I've
politicians
heard that severally.
having their kids abroad? Why are the pastors having their children abroad? So that tells you that there is something. It might not necessarily be that, the abroad of being there physically, abroad
Yes.
of having that access, passport sometimes.
Mm.
When you have a
Mm.
foreign passport, especially a powerful passport like Canadian passports, British passport, American passport, it gives you
Mm.
access.
Yeah.
You can be in the midst of group of friends, or there's a friend of mine. He's in the UK now, coincidentally. He has gotten his British passport. Luckily for him, he got married to a citizen, a Nigerian. He got married to a Nigerian lady who is also a British citizen. He,
Yeah.
he 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 grew up in a family where almost everybody had dual nationality and all that. So he
Mm.
said there was a kid he wanted to travel. They were talking of, the way people with foreign passports can just decide one day,
I
let's
want to
go to,
travel.
I want to travel. He said he was the
Yeah.
only one that couldn't travel because he had to go and start applying for visa.
Visa.
He was the
Mm.
only one amongst all his cousins and his friends. He was the only one
Mm.
that didn't have foreign passport. So with his
Mm.
green passport, he had to go and start applying. So he took the intervention of some of his cousins to start pressuring, that country where they wanted to travel to, the embassy, that
Mm.
please, we wanted to do this. Just let this
Mm.
guy. So he was at it. He too now realized that, man, sometimes not having that dual nationality, it's a big limitation. So in
Mm.
terms of access, yes, that is one major thing. It will give you access.
So,
So that's one of
yeah.
the things.
Yeah. Thank you. So that is the beauty of this podcast because I had somebody, I think last week, say he left Nigeria because of insecurity, and he shared his experience of how he was nearly kidnapped and how a friend was also attacked by the one chancellor. But now you're telling me that you left because of your sanity. You didn't leave because of economic reason. I've also had somebody say he left because of economic reason. So thank you. So, and that is the beauty of what we do here. So what would
Mhm.
you say are some of the challenges you have faced since you first arrived in Canada?
Hmm. Okay. The thing is that Canada is a properly structured environment, a country that is properly structured.
Yeah.
It's more structured than the United States, actually. It's a country where that if you don't have the right documents to get anything doing, it's almost impossible for you. Unlike the US, where you can, even with visiting visa, you can get jobs,
Do
underground jobs,
under table jobs, yeah.
table jobs. It's almost
But we
impossible
don't
in Canada.
encourage that. We don't encourage
Yeah,
that.
we don't
Disclaimer.
encourage that.
We do not
So, but
encourage that people live.
yeah,
Yes, please.
but in Canada, it's almost impossible. It's not like it might not be there, but it's almost impossible. It's something that you hardly hear of.
Mm.
It's a properly structured country. The system is so protected that you can hardly do anything if you don't have the right documents.
Yeah.
Getting a job is tough in Canada. Yes, it's a proper structured job. At least since I've been in Canada, I've not done any unusual jobs like maybe I don't want to use unusual, but the some of these basic jobs, work in supermarkets or things like
Mm.
that. I've only done professional related jobs.
Okay, nice.
Interestingly, I'm starting it. That's why I'm talking to you today because it's a work day. I'm changing jobs. I'm starting a new job on Monday. So
Okay.
and that's a property related job too. So I've not
Mm.
done any jobs like maybe supermarkets, the regular jobs that a lot of people just quickly use to keep body and soul together.
Further answer.
I have not.
So
I have not.
can you point to any challenge you faced since you arrived Canada? Is it up to 6 months, a year now? I can't remember how long it's been away. It's been
I've
in
been in
Canada.
Canada since 2023 now.
Okay,
Uh,
2023. So since you
yeah,
arrived
end
or
of
the early
2023.
stages of your arrival, what could you say were the challenges you faced?
Okay, getting a
Language,
no
food,
language is not a
housing.
problem.
Okay.
Coincidentally, I live in a province where they speak both French and English and French, although English is more prominent, but
Okay.
they speak French. Yeah, they also speak French because my son coincidentally attends a French speaking school, only French. They teach in French, they don't teach English at
Wow.
all. Yeah, so they
Mm.
speak in French, and that was as a result of his age. Canada is
Okay.
so structured that when a child is not up to 6 years old, you can hardly get that child into school, especially into
Okay.
a school where the child will go every day. That
Mm.
child will be going to school every day. And
Mm.
because we're looking for a job, trying to get, ourselves, settled and all that, it was a bit tough because of my daughter, started school because she was already 6 when we came in. She was
Mm.
6 in May of 2023. So she got,
Mm.
admission almost immediately. But my
Mm.
son, because he was 4 years old then, we couldn't get him into school. So at a point, I had to stay in the house with him. You know,
Okay.
I couldn't leave him. So at the point, so even when he now started school, he couldn't start an everyday school. It was two
Mm.
days a week. So and imagine in a country where everybody is rushing to hustle, you have to
Mm.
now stay with your son, in the house
Stay at
because
home, dad.
yeah, because there was no school for him to get
Go
into.
to.
Because the
Mm.
school we now even got at the point is he got admission into my daughter's school, but he
Yeah.
couldn't go every day because my daughter attends an English school, only like English only speaking school. It's a Catholic school, coincidentally.
Yeah.
So he was going to school just 2 times in a week. So it was difficult for me to get a structured job because of that. So I had to be
Mm.
staying home, with him and all that. So that too is a problem because then if you come into Canada as a single Pringle, like people say, yeah, as a single person, it's easier.
Okay.
You don't have
Yeah.
anybody. Oh, okay, how do I settle my kids? How do I settle this?
Yeah.
It's you are hustling for yourself only. Canada is
Mm.
not a country like the US where once a child is in the US, no matter the
Mm.
age, he or she must go to school. But in
Okay.
Canada, it is age based.
Yeah, I
No
think
matter
it's same also in the UK.
yeah, no matter
Until
the
your
age,
son, yeah.
no matter the class you are coming from, as long as you are a certain age, you must be
Hey,
in that age of.
yeah.
So that was a challenge for us.
Mm.
So the reason why I would not put my son in that school was because French school is the only, avenue where you can go to school every day, you know,
Okay.
and give me and my wife time, opportunity to hustle and do other things.
Wow.
So the school thing is a challenge.
Yeah.
Getting a job is a challenge. If you don't have, even with my UK masters, it was a bit
Mm.
tough to get a job. If you don't have Canada experience, it's difficult. If you have not worked in
Okay.
Canada before,
Sorry,
it's difficult.
can I stop you for a minute with the Canadians? I had somebody say he said he's an IT professional, works as a
Mhm,
data, something in the data sector, to be honest, and he's quite doing well for himself. So he
mhm,
said part of the challenge was also Canada experience. And he went on to explain that to him,
mm,
Canadian experience is not basically working in Canada. But then when employers employ you, what they are looking at is beyond working in having worked in Canada, but they are looking
mm.
at mannerism, fitting into the work culture, the Canadian work culture, and all
Mhm.
of that. What do you have to say about that? Do you
Yes,
agree?
it is true to a large extent. It is true to a
Okay.
large extent. But I've also seen, because I've done numerous interviews in this Canada. When I was
Mm.
working in Nigeria, I didn't even do interview once because I was working for myself practically because I was
Okay.
working under my father in Nigeria. So
Mm.
I didn't have there was no need for me to do interviews. So, okay, well, I did a few interviews when I schooled in the UK, but nothing as serious as, what I faced when I got to Canada. So yes, that
Mm.
person is correct to a large extent, but I've also seen situations where they will say you have not worked in Canada, not
Okay.
totally because of you don't have, but there are some exceptions, yes. Like my brother lives in the same city where I live in too. He used to work in a multinational back in Nigeria, and he works in that same, the multinational in Canada now, like the parent body of the multinational where he used to work in Nigeria. So
Working like that. Yeah.
yeah, so it was easy for him to transition
Transition.
because he had worked in a multinational. So the multinational culture, the work culture in the average multinational is practically the same. If you've worked in
Mm.
a multinational like British American Tobacco, Cadbury, Mondelez, like that, if you've worked in a
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, you will fit in right almost immediately. You won't have that,
Mm.
challenge of that workplace culture and all that they talk about. So workplace
Mm.
culture, yes, it's key. So a lot
Mm.
of places tell you don't have the Canadian experience. There was
Yeah.
this property company that I was looking forward to working. Immediately I came into Canada, it was the
Yeah.
first place I was looking at because I was seeing the official cars everywhere.
Mm.
Even the house I live in, they built the house.
Okay.
The house I'm living in, they built the house. So I was really looking forward to working there. I applied there almost 5 times. I didn't even get called for
Wow.
work interview because I didn't have that Canadian, and it's such a
Work
system that
experience.
if you lie, especially if it's a structured professional job you are looking for, if you lie,
Mm.
they will get to know. Most likely they will know because they will check. So
Yeah.
most times you have to your resume has to be truthful as much as possible from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Even if you do a little bit of tweaking but so
Mm.
most times once they see that you don't have any maybe Canadian experience or foreign experience, they won't even call you at all for
Okay.
interview. So as I was making reference to where I, did that interview, eventually I now got interviewed, there sometime last year. After the
Mm.
interview, the person now told me that the only challenge is that I've not worked in Canada before.
Mm.
Say that, so that was the reason why they didn't take me for the job anyway. So that is key. That's Canadian experience
Okay.
it's really important. So getting a job in Canada is a bit tough, especially if you want to get a job in your line. If you
Or a
insist on
professional job, you mean?
a professional job, majorly, if you want to get a professional job, is a bit tough.
Mm.
Getting the regular jobs is a bit easier to get. That too can be
Okay.
challenging, but getting professional jobs is quite tough. So
Mm.
uh, I think that's all that comes to mind right now. Anyway,
Okay.
it's kind
So
of
thank
tough.
you. So when you arrived Canada, yeah,
Mhm.
did you say were you able to get something doing, or maybe your spouse also? were you both able to get something doing, say, in the first day? Because obviously I know that, and also, are you also happy to share the visa route that you used in entering Canada? Because that also contributes to whether you're able to work full time and your wife works full time, or somebody has to go to school and the other person has some restrictions on their
Okay,
visa and
okay.
all of that. Thank
Yeah, my wife is studying,
you. Okay,
but I'm on a I'm on a work visa. So
okay,
I have own work visa here. So my wife is actually studying, so she's a full-time student. So I'm the one working. So, but luckily, back in Nigeria, my wife was a hustling type. She's very entrepreneurial. So she, does businesses on the side, like just little things that she can do just to
mm,
make some extra money. But, so she's like that right from time. But for some time, I couldn't work. So we're depending largely on some of the resources that we came into Canada with. And
yeah,
then, so um it's not easy getting your foot on ground. Luckily, I have a sibling in Canada. My immediate elder brother lives in Canada, lives just two streets away from me here. So for some months we were able to put up with his family, so that
okay,
helped us to settle in,
okay,
that helped. So the process of looking for a job and all that, we were, we lived with them for a while. So that helped us, that settling in. So it's important if you have somebody, in any country you're going to, if you have somebody that can house you for a while, that makes your journey easier. You get. So I think uh,
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, I even though I have a question in that regard about family support or community
Yeah.
support, but since you pointed it, so somebody is listening, somebody is considering America, UK, Canada, Australia. In all of
Mhm.
these countries, they have somebody in Denmark. What would you suggest to the person? And they are thinking, oh, I want to go to America because America is good, or I want to go to Canada because I can go with PR, or this UK is just 6 hours away, and all of that. But they are not considering that support, family support, or support they could get on
Mhm.
landing. Do you think, when considering where to go to, that support, family support or familiar support, will also be a consideration?
Not entirely, not necessarily, but it's important if you have that. If you have that family support is good. Like for the person you're talking about who is considering either Canada, US, if I recommend US, I won't recommend anybody going into US with a visitor's visa. You see what is happening with Donald Trump and all that now. So because once your visa expires, what then happens? You begin to go from pillar to post. So in Canada, it's good when you come in as a PR. You enjoy a lot of benefits that citizens enjoy. Um, Canada is a good country if you come in legit, if you come in the right way.
Yeah.
It's a very good place to be in. It's cold, actually. It's way, way, way colder than UK. I can imagine, the shock I had when I came into Canada, for somebody that has lived in the UK for some time, and I
Mm.
came into Canada. If I'm in your kind of temperature, UK temperature, I'm not sure with the experience I've had in Canada, if I come to UK, I won't even wear jackets because Canada is that cold, I won't be wearing jacket. Highest, I will wear this kind of sweat top I'm wearing, and I'll go out because we are experiencing minus 47, minus 50 degrees Celsius. If you're in a place like that, because of the cold, I'm not so much of a fan of Canada in that context because of the cold.
Mm.
But Canada is a good
Mm.
country to be in. If the system is good, security wise, everything, but healthcare wise, we are having some issues because the healthcare professionals are not as they should. I mean, not as much as they should be. So, getting healthcare sometimes can be challenging. But every other thing, Canada is superb. So, I would advise somebody. Denmark is a good country. If you can go to Denmark, and it's a country where you don't have so much drama of immigration, where
Sorry,
you keep having.
sorry, I actually use Denmark as an example. It is not that
Oh,
I
okay.
have anybody. It is
You're
just
not
a, yeah,
somebody like.
an example. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
illustration.
So, but
It's
what I
just
advise
me.
people is if you want to relocate from Nigeria, go to countries where immigration issues are not, they are not in the front burner. Canada is talking of reducing immigration, US is talking of immigration, UK is talking of immigration. So go to a country where immigration is not they are not
Hot
really looking
topic.
at, it's not a hot topic right now. So it makes it, at least it's easier for you to enter,
Yeah.
especially if you don't have somebody that you can easily, that can help you ease in. Countries like
Mm.
Denmark, Netherlands, Norway. Norway is a good country, although it's a bit cold like Canada, but not as cold as
Mm.
Canada, but it's a country too. But the only problem with Norway is the language barrier sometimes. They speak
Yeah.
English quite, but sometimes that language is a problem. So
Mm.
Denmark, Holland, but those are good countries too. Any country where you don't have too much of talk on immigration is good.
Yeah.
But if you can come into all these other countries without hassle, Canada, US, UK, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. So, I asked you about challenges, and you
Mm.
mentioned
Yeah.
the job. Now, I think I'll add weather to it also, because you
Mm.
sound to me as if you struggled with the weather when you newly arrived, right? Okay. Then
Yes.
moving on, how would you say you've adapted to the cultural difference in Canada? Obviously, Canada and Nigeria are way different. So, how would you say you've been able to adapt to the cultural differences, if there is
First,
any?
there are not so cultural differences. I've only seen a few things that I can speak to. Firstly, I noticed that Canadians are patient.
Okay.
They are very, so it's not a shock for me because it's in line with the kind of person I am.
Mm.
Patient, very, very polite. They are very nice. They are nice. They are polite. They are nice.
My
Um,
my my other guest from Canada said Canadians are laid back. Do you agree
yeah,
with the word?
yes, it's
Mm.
part of being nice. The average
Mhm.
Canadian is very laid back, very nice.
Mm.
Um, Canadians are not like the average Americans that are, wah 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 kind of people. They are very
Mm.
nice, calm.
Mm.
They are like cousins to Americans, but the calmer, you know,
Basta.
yeah, the calm cousin, yeah, something like that. So Canadians are
Mhm.
very nice. When you come into Canada, you see that they are very polite. A
Mm.
Canadian, you can be coming from Sokoto and a
Mm.
Canadian is in front of you. As long as the Canadian knows that you are going to enter the same door with him, the Canadian can hold that door for you until you get there and enter. They are
Mm.
that nice,
Mm.
very
Mm.
nice. Canadians are very nice.
Mm.
The system is very calm, no unnecessary hassle, and I've noticed that Canadians don't worship money.
Okay.
When you see the average rich Canadian, you'll be in the store with a Canadian that is wealthy, like not rich, wealthy Canadian. The difference between you and that person might just be when you go outside and you see the car the person is
Mm.
driving. You will not see
But
it in the person's mannerism or the way they talk or the way they are dressed. You will not see it.
do
Most
you
times
not
you will
think,
see.
sorry, do you not think that it is the same for most Western culture, Western society? Because I think
Um,
I've experienced that in the UK too.
Yes, UK. While I lived in the UK, maybe it's because I stayed in Manchester. Manchester is a bit upscale, In the UK, you will see some people when they are wealthy, you will see it. You will see it written
Mm.
on them. You will be extremely fresh, look sharp, and all that. The average Canadian dress is so simple. When you see an MD of a bank or a CEO of a very big company here, they are so simple. Most times you will not even see jewelry or wristwatch or something.
Mm.
Extremely simple. So you only see that somebody is wealthy sometimes. And even the car sef, sometimes you can't really judge because of this, the
Credit.
credits. So a lot of them is when somebody tells you, oh, don't you know that person? This is the CEO of something, something. Before you
Mm.
know, oh, this is a big person. So that
Mm.
person will be so simple like you. No, they don't think so much of themselves. I don't know how to put it. They
Yeah.
don't they don't put themselves at this high pedestal and no. They are so easygoing, simple. They are
That we
very
are used
nice.
to in Nigeria.
And you are used to that. Somebody will tell you, do you know who I am? Nah. The average Canadian, they are so polite, just like the British people. They will tell you, like in that back then in Britain, when I was in UK, we used to joke that the average British police, they will be so nice to you until you enter prison. They will be telling you, I'm sorry, sir. Sorry, I'm very sorry. You will be shouting, do you know who I am? before you know, you don't enter prison, and they'll still be polite, so
Mm,
the average Canadian too is like that. They are very polite,
mm,
very, very nice. They are quick to say sorry. When they see that, they will just tell you, "Oh, I'm so sorry," So compared to what we are used to where we're coming from. So, but it
mm.
wasn't so much of a shock to me because that's my personality normally.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, I admit wrongdoing easily. When I say I'm at fault, I'm quick to say, "Oh, I'm sorry," So it wasn't so much. It wasn't difficult for me to adapt because
Mm,
it's something I've been used to. It's something I've practiced over time, So it wasn't a
mm.
shock, but those are some of the differences I can, just point out now. Maybe if I remember any other,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
Interesting. So my next question will be, what was one moment during your journey so far that truly tested your resilience?
Mm. Okay, so
Mhm.
easily is just the job, searching for jobs. That's coming from a background where I never had to do interviews to get, to work, and coming into a place where I have to do resumes, looking for a job in Canada is a job on its own,
It's
so
a full-time job on its
it's
own.
a full-time job. When you come to Canada and you have to start doing, drafting resumes to fit in every job role and all that. It's another work on its own, So that those are things that can test you when you enter Canada. When you are coming, you carry all your masters for head from Nigeria.
Mm.
Hey, I have masters in this, I'm a doctor in this. Canada will
Yeah.
just humble you, bring you down.
Humble.
Yeah,
Mm.
Canada is a humbler. It will humble you. It will bring you to your so when you are coming, a lot of doctors are in Canada, medical doctors that have practiced for 10, 15 years, 20 years in
Mm.
Nigeria. And they come here, they can't even practice. They can't even pass the medical exam,
Mm.
because sometimes it's not because they are not brilliant, you get.
Yeah.
It's just the system sometimes is, a bit different from what we are used to in Nigeria,
Yeah.
so,
Mm. So for
so,
you,
so it's a,
I can you hear me? Sorry.
yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I was
Okay, so for
just,
you that said you worked in a family business, I
yeah.
presume apparently you didn't even have a resume. Like some of us
At,
that worked several years, you didn't have a resume because you didn't have need for it. And coming to begin to do resume, do cover letters, submit lots
mm,
of application and all of that
yeah,
tested your resilience, right?
yes, it did because for years, at least when I went back to Nigeria in 2014, I worked up until 2013 with, where, where before I came here.
Mm,
At the point I did not have a resume myself. I didn't have resume. If they tell me,
mm,
when I was going to contest for the assistant secretary position,
yeah.
sometimes 2021, and they asked us to send like a short biography. It was kind of tough for me. I had to start thinking, what do I even write in this thing? Because I wasn't used to applying for jobs, and so
Mm,
the only applications I was used to is when we apply for government jobs, because we were a consultancy and all that, so we used to
okay.
consult for government and private institutions, individuals.
Mm,
So sometimes when you're doing, preparing the technical bid, those are the things I was used to. I
used
wasn't
to.
used to writing personal resumes as such
Mm,
for job roles, so it was kind of tough. You have to first tell people, "Oh, please let me have this, let me have your resume." You now start thinking of how to fuse everything together to fit in,
mm.
and how to be now. So every interview you are going for, every job you're applying for, you have to tailor that resume to. So that
Result,
alone was,
yeah.
yeah, it's tough. We need to
Mm,
submit, applications, 3, 5 interview applications every day. It was
mm.
quite tough. So we thank God, at least small, small, we are moving.
So nice. So I think we've discussed about having community support when you said when
Mm.
you came in newly, you had your brother and he supported you.
Yeah.
Um, so and I also asked, is it a consideration for somebody coming in? And he said it is not 100%. But then I'll move
It's not.
on from that.
Yeah.
So what was something that you didn't expect? My question is, what was the most unexpected part of your immigration experience?
Um, I would say still work related because when you are coming from with the UK masters, I have a masters from University of Salford in Manchester, and interestingly, both my BSc, my masters, they're all in the same line of work that I've been, so
Mm.
I was coming into the system with so much confidence that I won't stay long before I get a job and all that,
Good job.
you now get into the system and and somebody is now telling you have to remove your MSc. Sometimes you remove your B. I was like, MSc that took me how many EDC to get? Do you know how many thousands of pounds I paid to get that MSc? I
Are
just
they
was.
considering are they considering that you're overqualified for some of the jobs you're applying, or
Yes, because some of the jobs they will specify that even in my line of work sometimes, sometimes me that have been property manager, I've been manager for years. I'm applying for maybe assistant property manager, just to see anyone to even start. I'm
mm,
now applying for assistant property manager, and they are
mm,
saying it's just high school. All they need is high school diploma.
mm,
See
mm,
me with masters, you know. So I have to start taking out the masters, take out the BSc sometimes. Sometimes you just send it with confidence that, well, even if you remove masters, you can't remove the BSc now. How do you want to do? You have
mm,
to leave it.
mm, mm,
So sometimes you have to take out this, take out that. So it got to a point where I was applying for the city job, like the government of this city where I live. I was applying
mm,
for the city and coincidentally, my predecessor in my professional institution that I was talking about, she
yeah.
works in that government, in the city government. So she was helping me, try to get into, the city employment. And so every job I see, sometimes when she sends me, so I follow the site of so I subscribed on the site. So most times when there's a job opening, I
Mm,
get notification and all that. So a lot of times when you see some of these jobs, I will chat her, I'll say, wait, should I take off my masters? She will say, no, leave that masters there. That even
mm,
if they would not take me for that one, they will have me on file for a
mm,
better,
roll.
for a better role. I've done interview in that city now. I eventually
Mm,
got opportunity for interview maybe three
mm,
weeks ago. I've not gotten any feedback yet, but
mm,
it's a place where you want to work. The pay is good, the prestige
mm,
is, that kind of thing. It will test you sometimes whether to
mm,
remove masters. So it will now make you start to wonder, was it worth it to even start this whole educational thing? In Canada, what I've realized is that they don't really value much of all this education thing that we carry
mm,
in our masters, BSc, not as
mm.
much as not as much as what you can do and your
Yeah.
certification. They are really key on certification here.
Certification. Yeah.
Yeah, certification,
Mm,
especially if you are in the tech
mm,
line. Yeah, if you're in the
mm,
tech space, you really want to do more of certification. Here,
mm,
in Canada, they don't do much of going to university. It's we
mm,
Nigerians that go to
mm.
university, want to have BSc and HND and everything. Here, most times, once they do high school, that's it. Because one thing I like about the Western world is that for every level of education you have, there's a job you can get.
Okay.
There's a I don't want to say prestigious. There's a befitting job you can get for
Mm,
every level. And one thing I appreciate about the white people is that they don't, although sometimes it's a problem when you are not so ambitious.
mm,
It's not very good for a country when people are not so ambitious. The average Canadian sometimes just wants to the Caucasian Canadian, not the blacks or even some of the indigens sometimes, they are too laid back. That they just believe,
mm,
oh, once I finish high school, I can work
mm.
in Walmart, work in, superstore and just earn. Sometimes you see these guys, they are in one place for 35 years. You start wondering that, is it that you don't
Oh,
have
wow.
ambition? Yeah,
Mm,
you are in a place for 45 years and you are growing from till attendant, maybe in another 20 years, you become the manager of a store. Is that
mm,
enough? That's not
mm,
ambitious to me. Yeah, so that's one thing I see that Canada can test you a bit, to
mm.
make you question a lot of things.
Oh, there is this thing they say in the UK that UK will humble you. Will you also liken that to Canada? That Canada will humble you
Canada
in
is
terms
worse than
of
UK. When it comes to humbling, Canada and a senior brother. Canada is a senior brother to humbling somebody. No, 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 no. At least I have a bit of experience in UK, and Canada will humble you, trust me. So it will
Mm,
make you, to bring you down, no matter how you think you. A few people are very lucky to enter the system and get a very, very high paying job almost immediately. Like
mm,
my immediate elder brother that I referenced earlier, he got
yeah.
into Canada and in less than 2 months, got work started working in a multinational again. And there are few others like that. But most of us like this, we no sabi book like this. We have to
Would you
we have
say,
to in the
what would you
system.
say about the place of coming from Nigeria? We are
Mm.
religious. What would you say, moving to these Western countries? Would you say that a place of prayer plays an important role in us settling faster? Say, for example, getting that job you desire, or what do you say about prayer in all of this?
Yeah, prayer is key, definitely. Because I always don't want to liken spirituality for being religious. One thing I've noticed that a lot of Nigerians, we are just religious. We don't really know God. Many of us in Nigeria, we worship God for what we can get, not
Mm,
because of not because of who He is, really.
mm,
So we worship, and we've been programmed to worship God to give. I want to take, I want to take.
mm,
So, and it's because of the system we are coming from. A lot of things where the government is supposed to provide, um, we are not seeing it. So many of these things we ask God, so we disturb God unnecessarily in
mm,
Africa. There's a saying that religion is the opium of the poor.
yeah.
A lot of people, sometimes lights will pray, road will pray. To travel
Mm,
from Lagos to Abuja, you fast and cast and bind because you want to travel, because
mm,
you are praying for safety. I'm not saying
mm,
that you don't pray for safety abroad. The place of prayer is, for example, now let's say you are going for a job interview, and you people are
mm,
five, and the five of you have the same qualifications. I'm talking based in Canada now. You have the
mm,
same qualification, you have similar experience. The place of favor is God can single one person out.
yeah.
That's the place of prayer. God
Mm,
can give you, but the prayer itself will mean that that person is diligent in that thing that person
in
is
his
doing.
business.
In his business, in your work, there's diligence
Mm,
there. God can single you out. That's the place of prayer. So
mm,
I wouldn't say, I know that we pray more. A lot of people pray more in Nigeria than when they get to Canada.
mm,
Interestingly, my own story is kind of the opposite. I'm
mm.
closer to God now that I'm in
Okay.
Canada than in Nigeria. Yes, and
Oh, that what happened? What changed?
that is not because of the reason. No, that's not because I needed something from God. It was more of understanding. I got to understand it, some things better, that made me
Okay.
get close to God. Yes, it's not really because of what I wanted to get from God.
Mm,
I realized that I need a more personal relationship with God,
mm,
that just what God can do. You know,
mm,
I've had quite a number of personal experience with God. I remember
mm,
the first time I heard from God was 2019, that I heard directly myself, not that
mm,
one person said.
mm,
So after then, I've had like 3 or 4 more, experiences like that. So, and that's
mm.
a personal thing to me, not because of what I want to get. I'm in a
Yeah.
safer country. I'm in
Mm.
at least I go out any midnight. I'm not afraid
Mm.
of bandits. I'm not afraid that somebody is going to rob me. If
Police
I leave,
brutality.
yeah, I'm not afraid of police brutality. I'm not afraid of lights going. I'm not afraid of one village person. No, but I've just gotten to understand God a
Can you hear
bit
me?
better. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Some
so I've
connection.
just gotten to a level where, I know God better for myself.
Mm,
And that was thanks to some teachings that I listened to. There are some preachers you listen to that will preach God to you in a different dimension. So I got to
yeah.
experience God a different way. So But I know that the religion, I don't want to say Christianity, so it shouldn't look like we are
Yeah.
limiting Christians. But unfortunately,
Mm.
we Christians are the most guilty. We are the guilty ones because most
Mm.
people are running to God for a miracle, what God can do, what God can give me. And that's the
Mm.
problem because we've been so conditioned in Nigeria to
Mm.
we expect so little from our leaders, so little from government, and we
Mm.
expect everything from God.
From
You
God.
know, here people demand so much from their leaders and
Mm.
expect little.
From God.
The
Oh,
average Canadian doesn't go to church. If you come out on a Sunday morning, their cars are all parked in front of their houses. They are not going to church.
they are
But in
resting.
terms, yeah, they are resting because they have worked. And in reality, I look at it that the white people sometimes they are the ones really obeying Sabbath too. Because Sabbath day you are supposed to rest, really. You get. Yeah, so, but that's the conversation for another day anyway. So they
Yeah.
they, they take that Sabbath day to rest, to
Mm.
to enjoy the company of their family, their kids, their family.
Mm.
So I think we are more religious in Africa than here. Most people,
Mm.
anyway,
Mm.
and it's because what the government is supposed to provide. Look
Mm.
at now, heard of a lot of kidnappings of recent. When they kidnap
Yeah.
people now, they don't even bother reporting to police or asking government for help. The next thing is they are trying to hustle for GoFundMe, how they will get money to free the person. It's sad.
Yeah.
Ordinarily, in countries like this, if anything happens, the police is the first point of call. You are not
Yeah.
going to also for people to donate money. So some
Mm.
of those inadequacies, those kind
Mm.
of things are the reasons why people are unusually religious in Nigeria. You want to
Yeah.
travel. I remember when I was serving in Abia State, 2011. If anytime I wanted to travel from Lagos, maybe I was going back to Abia State. I served
Mm.
in originally in Umunochi, but I redeployed to Umaya. Anytime I wanted to
Mm.
travel in Abia line in that's
The transport
Yaba,
system.
yeah, that side. Anytime we are seated in the bus, you will see all these pastors. Now, all these pastors with wear suits. They will come. The kind of prayers they used to pray used to scare me. I'm always like, wait, if you are praying this kind are you not even scaring people the more?
Mm.
And it's because of the bad roads, majorly.
Mm.
Sometimes
Mm.
village people are not there anywhere now. We are now human being, be village people. Village
Mm.
people say now they are busy trying to achieve great things for themselves. So a lot of times we attribute village people to people that don't even have our time self.
Mm.
You know, you say witches and
Mm.
wizards. Even witches and wizards now, they know about Bitcoin. They know about internet money. They too, they want to make money. They are not
Mm.
after anybody self. A lot of things we attribute to village people, to witches and wizards. Many
A
of it
lot.
are just failures of government, really.
Mm.
Failures of government, irresponsibilities of human beings themselves. Somebody is
Mm.
traveling from Lagos to Calabar and is drunk. Do you need
Yeah.
village people to do anything to that person? No, that person has killed
Mm.
himself.
Mm.
So I feel that we are just unnecessarily religious in Nigeria anyway.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Before I go on to my next question, I just want to run one quick advert.
Okay.
Guys, you can hear that on this line, on this interview I'm using, this is the mic I am using. You can see, so it's the wireless mic that helps you when you do such live interviews or you do vlog or anything you do on social media that requires you to record some things. This is a very good mic to use. I'll link it on my yellow basket on TikTok. You can go get yours. I think it's very good, and you can actually travel very far. I think 20 meters of accessible reception is quite very clear. Yeah, so thank you. So my next question would be, um, you mentioned that you're more closer to God now than when you
Mhm.
were in Nigeria. So how has your perspective on life changed since moving to Canada? If you can just say that in about 1 minute so that we can just run over this interview. I think I have two more questions. Perspective
Okay.
about life change.
My perspective about life, I wouldn't say it changed so much because I've been the type that has been quite exposed. At least I've been to quite a few countries. So, my idea of the way things are supposed to be, how things are
Mm.
supposed to work, has been there even before I came to Canada. So that's why I made that statement that anybody born in Nigeria, who lives in Nigeria, doesn't travel out of Nigeria and dies in Nigeria, might not
Mm,
go to heaven. It's
mm,
because your way of thinking, the way you see things, will be quite
mm.
limited to chaos you are used to.
Yeah,
When you are when they say that in the land of the blind, the one-eyed person is king.
yeah.
So you will be operating in the small space that you are because you have not
Mm.
seen outside. So I wouldn't
Everything
say
different.
perspective has changed as such. The only thing I've seen is that in terms of atmosphere, Canada has a very clean air. The air is cleaner. It's
Yeah.
um, it's more healthy, I think. When you inhale here, the air
Mm,
is very clean. Trees are green. When it's summer, it's like the green in Canada is really, really green. When you look at green in Nigeria and green in Nigeria, if you put them together, I mean plants, the
yeah.
difference is you will see that there's a lot of carbon fall and all that for science people. You will see
Mm,
that there's a lot of pollution in Nigeria. Our air is
yeah.
very, very polluted. So here,
Mm,
air is very clean. The country is
yeah.
clean, so those are some of the things, but I won't really say I've seen so much of maybe my perspective changed a lot as
Mm.
such because
Okay.
I have been quite exposed myself. So,
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, another 1 minute question. What advice would you give to others who are thinking of making this similar move, either to Canada or any of the Western countries? What advice would you give?
okay. If somebody is still thinking of relocating in 2025, you are already late. If you are still at the stage of thinking, especially if you are around our age, if you
What
are
age group?
if you are around 35, 40 something, and you are still thinking at this stage, it's already getting late. But the truth is that it's not extremely late anyway. They said
Okay.
the best time to have planted the tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. So it's never
Now.
too late. But the reason why I said the first thing I said was because now a lot of things are changing. Things are getting
Mm,
tougher. Even to
mm,
relocate to Canada through the express entry route, the PR,
mm,
is tougher now
mm,
than it was 2 years, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So
mm.
it's getting so if somebody is still at the stage of thinking now, it's going to be a bit tough. Nothing is
Yeah.
impossible, boys. So, but my advice is it's better you, for your children's sake, for your own sake, self, it's
Mm.
better if you don't fully relocate, at least think of giving your children a second passport. That thing is important.
It's
I'll
big
give you
ahead.
a second address, a second passport. Even if it will still be your address in Nigeria, let
Mm,
your children have a second passport. I will give you
mm,
two instances that makes me say you should have two passports.
mm,
2013, when my brother got married in Nigeria, and I was traveling back from the UK to Nigeria for his wedding. Um, so okay, I traveled back, and after the wedding, I was going back to UK. A
mm,
friend of mine, we traveled back together to UK. We were schooling in the same school, and we're living in the same building in Manchester. I didn't even know the boy was not just a Nigerian. You know what I mean by it? Somebody not just being a Nigerian.
mm,
It was a Mama Charlie son, self, British
mm,
citizen. But
mm,
this kind of British citizen that doesn't have the accent, doesn't behave like a British person, but is
mm.
a British citizen, one way or the other. He got the British citizenship through his grandfather. His grandfather
Oh,
was
okay.
born in UK. So like they now claimed from his grandfather,
Mm,
something like that. So we're traveling through Qatar. We entered Qatar Air. So we are Doha. I think we're boarding to enter, Manchester back, to enter the plane to Manchester. And he was in front of me when they said passport, please. He gave them the passports, and the person at the immigration was looking at him like, this kind, you see somebody and you can't relate the
mm,
passport with like nothing British about this guy. He was looking
mm,
at him like, he had to ask him that, where did you get this passport from? The guy, if you see the confidence the guy replied with that, what do you mean?
mm,
Can you not say, am I not the person? Can somebody who is just say, I beg to apply, have that kind of confidence to tell this person like blind? Who do you
mm,
see in the passport? It tells you that
mm,
power of that passport. The guy now
mm,
said, please hold on. He went to talk to his supervisors, Apparently, they did some cross-checking to see if the passport was original.
mm,
And the
mm,
guy came out and apologized, say, "I'm so sorry for delaying you. Please take your
mm,
passport." So
mm,
I was like, wow. Imagine
mm,
if that guy's passport was either fake or maybe he
mm,
had one issue with a Nigerian passport. Imagine how they would have
mm,
treated him. So they
mm,
apologized to himself that he shouldn't be angry for the delay. So
mm,
look at that. If he's traveling to Nigeria, he's traveling with his Nigerian passport. If he's
mm,
going back to UK, he's going. This guy is an architect. He's a professional chef in the UK. He lives in
mm,
Manchester. Firstly, his dad is a very top doctor in Nigeria. He's one
mm,
of these, these fathers of faith that we say in Nigeria.
mm,
Those are our fathers of faith. His
mm,
dad is the personal doctor to one of these pastors,
mm.
one of the very, very, very big pastors that we
Deeper,
really in Nigeria.
reverend,
His
yeah.
father is the personal doctor to one of those pastors. So
Mm,
that guy, the kind of respect he earns
mm,
with his British passport,
mm.
is you cannot underestimate it. Then the second
Wow.
thing, that one has kind of skipped my mind at the moment. I was going to give you two examples anyway, but
Okay,
okay.
that's
The second
fine.
example was this Afghanistan issue. You know,
Mm,
when the US pulled out of Afghanistan, I think it was during Biden's time. Yeah. Yeah, no, during Biden's time, what be like
mm,
2020 or 2022. And I saw
mm,
how people were hustling to leave Afghanistan because they were afraid that the Taliban were going to retaliate and,
mm,
attack a lot of people that had ties with America and all that.
mm,
There was a scene I saw on Al Jazeera, a lady and a guy. The guy is an Afghanistani, pure Afghanistani, no other passport. His wife has a dual nationality. So
mm,
at the entrance, I think they were letting people that had foreign passports live through a land border. I can't remember which of these countries opened their borders. That's
mm,
okay if you are a citizen of another country, please. And do you know that because his wife had dual nationality, she
mm.
was able to leave. Unfortunately, the guy couldn't leave. So I
Oh,
saw the thing. I saw the way the guy was crying, hugging and kissing his wife, telling her bye. Who knows if that guy is alive or dead today?
mm,
So imagine if that guy too had something, he would have just gone. So
mm.
even if you don't relocate out of Nigeria, I always advise make sure that you have a
A
second
plan B.
passport, a plan
Mm,
B. Just have it. Just
mm,
have it. Honestly.
Thank you. Can
Yeah.
you, final question would be, or, okay, then let me just, okay, yeah, final question. Can you
Mm.
describe a moment of triumph or success that have made all of this whole journey worth it? A moment you say, yes, I can now say, yes, this whole suffering I've been through is worth it.
Well, it's even recent. This job I'm starting on Monday. Yes, I can say yes. When I got the offer letter and I signed it, I was like, okay,
Mm.
now yes. So
It's
because the job
making
I was
sense.
doing was a property role, but in terms of the remuneration and the prestige, is nothing close to what I'm going to start soon. So
Mm.
when I got the offer letter, and I was like, okay, yes, this
Mm.
whole thing, what it's now, yes, you
So
know.
thank you. So on the final note, what are you saying to us, the crew members of Odyssey Massachusetts? What are you saying to, what word of advice are you telling us?
Okay, so one thing I'll say is always improve yourself. Make sure you're constantly growing. Even me, I need the advice too, more than everybody. Make sure you're always growing. Don't stop. We are in a generation where it's more of what you can do, what you bring to the table than so much of what you have on paper. Especially if you want to function in a Western world, it's so much of what you know, what you can do, and the certification you have. So let's always strive to improve ourselves, and the sky is the limit really. And please keep watching Odyssey with Mazi Chooks. I really like what he's doing. I've known him as somebody that he doesn't give up. He's a hustler. The hustle. Yeah. He has done practically everything. I can imagine. My kids at home, so I can hear the bell.
It's a good time to end. Thank you,
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Shola, for coming to our studio this night. And I'll send you the link to the video once it goes live on YouTube. We're also on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Please, anywhere you see this video, kindly watch, kindly like, kindly drop comment, and kindly share. We are open to criticism, abuse us, we accept it, and we grow from it. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. My regards to your wife and the children, all right?
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Take care, bro. Thank you. Bye.